Hi, I am Gideon Kindiwa and welcome to the Papua New Guinea Center for Judicial Excellence. Today, we are going to discuss on one of the most heated topics of our time, gender. Joining me on the panel is the Executive Director for Papua New Guinea Center for Judicial Excellence, Mr. John Carey, our Program Officer for Pacific Center for Judicial Excellence, Ms. Stacey Levakia, Wali, and our Program Officer for the Law and Justice Sector in Papua New Guinea, Ms. Vali, Kila. Thank you for joining us. Firstly, what has PNGCJE done to advance gender equality and social inclusion? From your point of view.
Well, the Center has been focused on gender equality and social inclusion issues for quite some time. We have appointed a coordinator, Ms. Debbie Lodwana, who's focused on awareness campaigns within our organization to ensure that everybody is aware of the gender equality type initiatives that need to be in place to promote gender equality and parity in our organization. In addition, if you look at the makeup of our organization, we have 50% male and 50% female. So I'm very proud of that because it means that we're committed to ensuring that the right person gets opportunities not based on their gender, but based on their professionalism. But also, we promote gender equality by ensuring that females who have been disproportionately marginalized throughout the world get an opportunity in an organization to succeed.
Thank you. So, Ms. Vali Kila, what does gender equality and social inclusion mean to you as a professional in the workplace?
As a professional, as a professional worker employee, PNGCJE, I think both men and women must be seen as equal. They must have the opportunities to participate in any activities within the judiciary or within PNGCJE. So I really think that both men and women must be seen as equal.
Thank you. So Stacey,
Yes.
As a lawyer by profession, what does gender equality and social inclusion have to do with the rule of law, from your understanding?
From my understanding and the way I perceive it is that when you're talking about the rule of law, that relates to the set of rules that govern society, that mean the Constitution, which has all our basic rights, and most importantly in Papua New Guinea's Constitution, there is there's a component there for equality, both for men and women. So I think kudos must be given to our co-founders to have actually established that prior on in 1975, they had the vision and the insight. I don't think we are applying it at all across the board. You just have to look at the parliamentarians that sit in this country. All of them are men. There are hardly any females. And I think that's an area that we need to look at if we're seriously trying to address gender equality within Papua New Guinea. The professional realm would be the first place of parliament, and then it should flow down to other organizations, state departments more so. But professionally, I think within the legal practice, there is quite a good mix of female and male lawyers, and that's exciting to see. But in terms of their career-wise and the levels and the achievements that they achieve going on from there, I think just recently that has been an area that people in the hierarchy have come to realize that they need that input. I mean, for example, boards, where the state boards, ex-officios who sit on those boards, the ratio, they still must also take into consideration that gender equality is very much paramount for the progress of Papua New Guinea going forward.
So in PNG, where there is a lot of discussion on gender roles given custom and tradition, how challenging is it to create awareness of the need for gender equality and social inclusion in the work that you do?
I think, look, reflecting back through through all of us, well, except for Mr. Carey, but given being brought up in the PNG society, it's very much male dominated. I mean, custom-wise is pretty much the truth, both in the highlands and the coastal regions. And it's something that we need to also reach a balance where there is an understanding without people being humiliated or degraded or have all those sort of, there's a lot of emotion as well in there because it's tradition. And how do you counteract tradition when it's been there for so many thousands of years? So I think we need to sort of look at that from a sensitive point of view and tread lightly, and we all need to have to reach that common understanding. But it's a very tough barrier to break down. And I think that's also poured out into employment-wise and how this country has looked at men and women in the workforce as well. And I think it's also a restraint that we have that we need to sort of address for us to progress again going forward, for the country to move.
I believe each of us have faced some sort of issues regarding gender in our daily routines in work. What has it been like, Vali, for your case, in terms of your experience with gender issues? Is there any examples that you can give?
For me, as a person, I think I enjoy working with both men and women. I have a very strong interpersonal relationship with both men and women, and to me, I don't find it any difficult. But with due respect, I think as in our society, men are seen as the leaders. So in any circumstances, if I am seen as a senior over the men, I still show that respect, level of respect to my colleague as a man. So to me, it's okay. I think there's a balance between the men and the women working in PNGCJE and also with my other stakeholders within the agencies that I work with.
Have you ever experienced any form of discrimination in what you do?
No. I think everybody is seen as equal, and our rights are heard, our views are heard, and we are given the equal opportunity to participate equally. So I don't really see that as a barrier or as a problem within my area work.
Stacey, how about you? Have you faced any form of discrimination?
In the terms of, in the various agencies that I've been employed in, I can say that I really haven't faced any animosity in terms of gender equality.
So if you guys come across any, what would you do to overcome it?
I think now...
If in the case that you face, in the future, if you face any form of discrimination, experience any form of discrimination in the workplace, not only towards you, but towards other workmates as well, what would you do to overcome the situation?
I think in those situations, it's probably a lack of understanding of this. We have the Judicial policy that's also in place at the moment, and National Capital District is pretty much driving that sector. I think, falling back onto your question, it's a lack of awareness on the actual person who's treating somebody in that way, and I think there's more awareness, more education needs to be done so that everybody understands, boundaries, understands that, men and women need to work together on an equal basis for the good of the organization and for the overall understanding of one another.
So now we go back to our families. From your own observation, from your own understanding and experience, how do the roles of men and women differ in the family?
I can only speak on my own family. I don't know about other people, but in my own family, I raise my children in a way where they know that there is equality. They're both treated the same. Nobody is pampered like the male, and is groomed in such a manner where, the female gets left out. It's pretty much, and I think they also have that going in schools as well. So I think in this day and age, we're sort of coming up to the reaching that gender equality as a social acceptance. But like I said, in my family, that's how we are at the moment. I mean, that's where we're coming from, trying to raise our children in that environment that's conducive to both of them knowing that they're equal, because I only have 2 children, so only female and male, so that they're both equal.
So, which gender spends the most time shopping? What do you think?
I think Mr. Carey could answer that question.
I really couldn't give you a definitive answer. That's all based on perception. I think many would say that argue that women shop more than men. I don't know if that's the case.
I tend to agree with that. I think women shop more men.
And which gender is most likely to ask strangers for directions?
I think most women. I think men seem to, from perception again, to cover my answer. But I think men, when it comes to direction, I think there's an innate GPS in there for everything.
This machoistic, they do everything.
Is one gender unable to see unwashed dishes or unmade beds? It's okay to be honest with you.
I guess that's more speaking as to gender roles and how gender roles fit in the home. And traditionally, I guess people have different perspectives and perceptions of that. So it's relative to a person's background and culture. But as a promoter of gender equality, it really shouldn't make a difference who does what, so long as people work together to advance the agenda. And it's not just based on gender. It shouldn't be.
And which gender talks the most?
Well, if we use this, you're asking most of the questions.
How can women achieve gender equality in a male-dominated society such as PNG?
I guess I would say that people have to advocate for their rights and agitate for their rights. We look at what's happening in Australia, where a young lady was raped in Parliament in somebody's office, and the courage that that person, she has in terms of coming forward with a story to agitate for her rights and what she believes should be done to safeguard such terrible behavior happening in the future. And I think when we look at gender equality and social inclusion in Papua New Guinea and the Pacific, it's important for those that are vulnerable and those who are at risk to be protected, and it's important for them to agitate, as well as it's important for those of us who are in positions to assist as advocates to agitate and advocate for them. That's just one perspective. Maybe there's another view as to what could be done as well to add. So,
as we come to close our interview, panel discussion, but before we close, can each of you define in one sentence, just one sentence, what does gender equality and social inclusion mean to you as a person? Just in one sentence.
For my perspective, it means giving all persons, male and female, the opportunity to engage and embrace whatever benefits that can be derived and participate in whatever good that society has to offer them without specific discrimination or prejudice to the gender, and in particular for women in this case, to ensure that they have achieved the rights that they are entitled to as they're equal to us as men.
What do you think, Stacey?
I agree with his statement. I think he's pretty much summed up what I would say in one sentence.
So, I think everything has been summarized by Mr. Carey, and I agree with him, as Stacey has mentioned too. I think everybody, both men and female, is to be given the equal opportunity to participate in terms of probably making decisions as well. So we have a balance.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for joining us on this panel discussion. And I'll be glad to see you guys once more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kindiwa.